I have to have notes. I used to be able to remember all this stuff, and I'm like, someone grab some notes here so I can tell you what I got to talk about. So, you know, it is our 17th year, and I want to thank you guys on the East Coast. It took us 17 years to actually hold this here, to have such a warm embrace for the Warped Tour, because I remember a little story about the first year I came out here, and I had Snapcase, and I had Shelter, and I had Sick of It All, Bouncing Souls, and bands like that. And I put them on at the wrong time. Like in Jersey and New York, it'd be like, you disrespected us because we're from Flatbush, or we're from this part of town. I'm like, dude, I need to put name tags on all of you guys to tell me where you're from, because I'm from the West Coast, you know. But I do, in a weird way, thought that, you know, in the long run, Warped Tour did bring the East Coast and the West Coast together. We worked a lot of shows for years, and I do shows when East Coast bands and hardcore bands, H2O, which I was lucky enough to manage for a while. I had some fun with those guys. I think some of them are coming down tonight. But there has been a connection with the Warped Tour, and as the scene grew, I mean, you guys became the hotbed of this music. You got to think about it. Bamboozle, those guys have done a great job with that festival, kind of breaking out of summertime. You know, with Thursday, some of those guys are coming down tonight. All the bands seem to come out of this area. So I guess it was natural when Vans opened up this new, as they're expanding and growing, they're a big company, but they're taking a big roll up in the Northeast, and they open up this great space, the House of Vans, that it's time to come out and give you guys a party tonight, like we've had on the West Coast. So hopefully you're not all bailing right after this and don't have somewhere better to be, and you can hang out and see some of these bands, because tonight's lineup is definitely reflective of where I try to take the tour this year. I got laid up for 2 months after the tour, and just sat there and started listening to music again. Stopped listening to agents, stopped listening to managers, and started listening to music, and starting to try to feel where things were going, and booked the tour that I think is reflective and very diverse and very cool. And in my mind, you're going to find gems out there, you know, and some of those gems are playing tonight. Getting a Chance coming up first. You're going to see School of Rock. I think one of the things we've done a partnership with School of Rock that's kind of embraced young kids. And a lot of these young kids say the first concert they've ever been to is the Warped Tour. Next band coming up tonight is Lion Eyes, which I was just hanging out with those guys, and they're totally cool. And they said, since we kind of put them on Warped Tour, a lot of bands are taking them under their wings. I just heard they got a date on Bonnaroo, which Warped Tour and Bonnaroo's never know to trade bands that often, so that's kind of cool. You know, we've got Moving Mountains, we've got the Wonder Years, and then some great people, MC Lars with Weird Science playing tonight. So please try to hang out. And the whole lineup this year really thought through, and the way we announced the bands, 5 bands a week. And then some kid scooped us last night with when he scooped all the bands we're supposed to announce at midnight tonight. If you don't know, an 11-year-old, they try to preload the music on YouTube and do everything, our little video presentation, and in a minute and a half, like 11 kids got a hold of that. And it's everywhere. So some kid in Fargo scooped all of you and broke the whole tour. So we're done. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go. But no, actually, it's great. You know, it's really cool to see how engaged. I think we have engaged the audience, and Paul at my office and everything has just engaged the crowd. I think it's very engaged, and that's where we came up with this term. We are warped. You know, I get asked, what is punk? I always say, I think punk rock that term should actually be retired almost in some ways, and given to the legends of that music. You know, in some ways, you know, what is punk? I mean, kids are punk if they're still playing music and want to figure out how to make it work. If you look at this year's lineup, I started looking at, there's very few major label bands on the Warped Tour this year. It's back to where we were in 1995, when we had Civ and, you know, Quicksand and all those kind of bands. This year's Warped Tour is very reflective of where we are then. It hasn't changed in 17 years. It's come full circle. And these bands are going to get out there and work their asses off. They're looking at diesel prices or gas prices. We're going to all figure out how to get down the road this summer. And hopefully the kids will come down. And that turned into another thing I started learning out. And I'm going to talk a lot. I guess I'm talking a lot too much. But there's something I want to tell you guys tonight. It's thing I saw when I was standing out front side the gates last year, and I asked kids why you're leaving at 5:30, 6:30. I said, you know, are you not having a good time? What's wrong? Why are you leaving at 5? They know we're having a great time. We're just out of money. The economy and the whole environment has changed, where a kid doesn't get an ATM card to get to just come and get money whenever they need it. They're given a fixed amount of money to come to a concert. And the biggest thing I asked, why are you leaving? And most of them said, I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. And I said, I understand. I started looking, and we all complain about prices of food and drinks and all that. So one of the things I could do, I think I booked good bands. That's like part of the whole deal, is we went and fought this year. So you're going to see a new thing at Warped Tour. And one of our things we did, I went in and said, kids need to come to a 9-hour show. We want them to come to the whole Warped Tour for 9 hours because they want to see every band. They want to see Greaves, and they want to see Yellow Wolf, and they want to come see Il Scarlet, Pacifier, all these bands. But if they get thirsty and they get hungry, they got to go home. And we all know that water, and when you really dig into the economics, which I can't even teach, it's crazy what I went through this year. You know, water's $4, $4.50 when you go to a venue. This year, the Warped Tour has made a deal, and we've had, without raising the ticket price to the fan, have figured out how to get the water to the kid for $3 a bottle. We've also made a partnership with Clean Canteen, which is going to give us water stations so kids that can refill their water bottles. So then, you know, I'm also talking to the kids in the parking lots and asking these kids, you know, they can't afford to eat at the Warped Tour.
Yep.
And despite what people say, we don't take everything away from them. We let kids come in with a sandwich. So we just want to announce a thing that was really cool, because you hear a lot of bad-mouthing of Live Nation, okay?
Yep.
There are things of Live Nation, and we don't do all our shows with Live Nation. We have indie promoters. We still work with young promoters. We have indie promoters. But we do want to announce, like, in all the Live Nation, they'll come out next week, more details, but we've got a prepaid food program where parents are going to be able to go in and buy their kids, or you can buy a lunch before you come to the Warped Tour for $8.50. You'll get, you know, a slice of pizza, French fries, and a Coke, cheeseburger. And you know what? You can buy it beforehand, so you don't spend all your money on a Day to Remember sweatshirt. You'll be able to buy food at the shows ahead of time, which I think is very important to our fans. So that's what you can do after 17 years, is try to embrace things and try to stay current. And I think some of the things we're launching this year will take us to the future, and will take us to the next few years, and keep the Warped Tour relevant. Any questions on that whole food thing? I mean, I know it threw a lot out there, but I can ask questions. You can throw questions out at any time, too. You know,